Hey, so I don't get to work with clients like John Crist because I was the best or I'm the best at what I do. I actually get to work with high profile clients because I know the principles, the foundations, the basics of understanding how they work. So in this video, I'm gonna share my formula with you and I hope it helps. Let's get into it. In this episode of Branding Beyond Business, we are talking about how to work and actually get in front of high profile clients like John Crist. He's a current client of mine and I've been working with him for the past 2 years. And I'm excited because a lot of people ask me, like, how do you get to work with John Crist? How do you get to, how do you get in the room? How do you, And I'm like, it's pretty easy. I'm gonna break down the formula for you in this episode. So I hope you get some value from this. And I think you are gonna get a lot of value from this. And I'm just gonna tell you how I do it. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, this works every single time, but I'm gonna let you know from my perspective how I build rapport, how I network, how I access these high profile people, like what's the deal, how do I do that? So I wanna break it all down for you today in this episode of Branding Beyond Business. And you can take this in any industry, by the way. You don't have to be in filmmaking, you don't have to be a creative director like myself. You could be in real estate, you could be a service business, you could be a whatever. And this formula works because it is the principles that actually matter. It's the principles of the foundation, the basics. You got to understand the basics before you go out there and try things. If you understand the basics, you could grow anything, really. So I'm excited to share this because it's been a question that I've been getting all the time because I do work with high profile clients. I am a creative director and I work with a bunch of brands and a bunch of clients. So let's just dive into it. And I'm going to give you about 6 points. So I hope you have your note card out. I hope you got your notes. Here are mine right here. It's going to be a short, maybe long episode. Who knows where this episode can go? It really depends on how our relationship goes. So let's just dive into it. The very first thing you got to know, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lay out the formula and the steps, and I'm going to deep dive into each one. Okay, so I'm going to give you that up front, then we're going to go into each one. So number 1 is awareness or rapport. Number 2 is discovery or investigate. Number 3 is consider or demonstrate. Number 4 is convert, negotiate, contract. Those are the 3 kind of things, like just conversion, right? Number 5 is building a relationship. And number 6 is ultimately what every business wants to get to, is repeating customers or retention for that client or customer. You want the best business, plan ever is getting that repeat buyer, right? If you buy Nike, you're always going to shop Nike. You're always going to wear Nike. If you buy, from Starbucks, you're always going to want to go to Starbucks. If you're in the Apple ecosystem, you're going to want to buy Apple always, right? So that repeating customer, how do you build that retention? We're going to talk about every single point in this episode. And this is the exact formula that I use to land high profile clients like my buddy, John Crist. So let's dive into the very first point. Hey, real quick, this video is sponsored by Branding Beyond Business, our newsletter called Creative Direction Weekly, where I give tips, insights, and tricks. Personally, I write them out and I don't use AI slush in your inbox. So I deliver every single week creative direction that will help you grow your brand and build your brand beyond your business. So if you want to sign up, join my newsletter, all right? brandingbeyondbusiness.com, and I'll see you in your inbox every single week. Let's talk about awareness for building rapport. So how me and John Crist met is actually really wild, is that rapport. So before John Crist, I had met Lauren Lowry. Lauren Lowry, she's a news anchor for Channel News 4 here in Nashville. The way I met her, funny enough, I didn't even meet her in person. I actually had my creative team go out and film a keynote for a friend of mine, Sean Kaplan. Thanks, Sean, the Cap Man. And he put on this event where Lauren Lowry had spoke and she did a keynote. And my creative team went out there and filmed that. And what we did from that was make short clips and like banger clips, like hype clips that like made her look just 10x, amazing. The mic drop moments, the B-roll, all those things that we put together. And I literally emailed her and I said, hey, here's what we did when you spoke at my friend's event. And then she responded jaw dropped and was like, oh my gosh, you dialed my brand. You understood me. Like, I could not come up with content like this ever, and you have this style and this vibe. And I was like, thank you. Like, I appreciate that. I spent a lot of years working on this. And I hate when people say like, oh, I've done this for so long. It's like, well, what's a measurement of long? You know what I mean? If you're a master at your craft, you're continuously like challenging your process, and you're constantly creating new things all the time. So it's like, oh, I've done it for so long. It's like, shut up. What, 7 years, 10 years, 20 years? I don't care. There's people that have done it longer than you, and you got to kill that ego, first of all. So if you're a creative, listen to me right now. Shut up about how long you've been doing it for. No one cares about that. They care about what you could deliver and what the outcomes you're getting for them. Okay. So that's number one. So that turned into, spreading the word. And she's friends with Lydia, which is John Crist now fiance, which I was a part of their engagement party. It was crazy. It was like me and another photographer that was literally in the room when the engagement happened. And that's a wild story. So I'll share that with you too. But I had a few other friends too. Like, we had some common friends between me and John. And here's the thing, like, I've been following John for a long time, being in LA and in Vegas, like, and being in the Christian community. Like, he was like the biggest Christian comedian out there doing like social media and stuff. So like, I've been following for a while. And like, when I moved out here to Nashville about 4 years ago, I literally told my wife, I was like, one day I'm going to work with John. It's going to happen. God's going to make it happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, and I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I just knew it in my heart, and I just let it go. I just released it. And I was like, all right, God, do your thing. And what happened was, there's a few other mutual friends that me and John had. And when the timing was right and he was getting ready for his brand new tour and he had something to work on, like he didn't reach out when he didn't need anything. He literally DM'd me and was like, hey bro, heard about you. Let's get together. And I was like, whenever I build rapport, I want to make sure I leave the very first impression. Like, you're going to remember the first impression. And I was like, dude, let's eat some Filipino food. So that was literally my first DM to him. Like, hey bro, let's get some Filipino food. And because I love breaking bread, as you could tell, and this is why I have diabetes. I eat a lot. I love food. I grew up in a Filipino home. I love to eat. So like, that's like my love language. And I have to work on that this year in 2026. And that's why I'm stepping back a little bit from, what I've been doing for the past year. Actually, I'm fully stepping back from that, letting that go, releasing that, and going into this, because I know that I want to help a lot more people. But before I do that, I need to get my health in order. So he DM'd me first and he was like, hey man, I got this idea. He didn't even have an idea, by the way. He was like, we just need to get together. So I was like, all right, cool. Just let me know when, and then I happened to be downtown in Nashville. I was like, hey, he goes like, let's just meet up. And I was like, all right, well, come to my studio in Nashville and bring your ideas. And he was like, what? And here's a clip of how we actually first started working together. So roll the clip, watch this clip.
What you think, dude?
Let's go. Yeah.
Are we rapping?
We rapping.
Oh, all right. No, rapping this. What's WRAP?
Oh, got it.
WRAP. Rap.
We rap like a bow.
Yeah. I've been on tour for 10 years.
Yeah.
And somebody, shout out Lauren Lowry.
Hey, Lauren.
Connected us together.
Yes.
And I remember it was funny because you just said, well, come into the studio and just bring your ideas.
Yeah.
And I go, well,
how does this all?
Yeah, what do you mean? What do you mean? What should I bring? And you're like, whatever you're thinking, just bring it in. This was the hardest shot that we were going to try to get because I said we're going to do a 360.
360 idea, kind of like a video game. And like it was like a nod to the past, but still in the future.
Like I'm animatronic or I'm a robot, but in real life. And I was
like,
you're
glitching and adding all the
But to have a 360, that is almost impossible.
Right.
You're like, I mean, we're not. This isn't like
James Cameron.
But yeah, dang, we said at the same time. I go, and we were trying to think. We went back and forth. How do we do it? And you sent me. We took a shot in the office that day.
Yeah, I was like, let's just try something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, they're definitely, you and your team are definitely capable of doing it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, sick.
The second part of this, so that's awareness rapport, right? So I had a lot of rapport in the bank account, right? In his Rapport bank account. People talked about me. He heard from other people, you got to work with John. John Mediana, this and that. Like, so he heard it not just from one person, but from multiple people, and they're trusted people that he knows. Okay, so like that was really important. And if you're just starting out and you're a content creator or you're in business, it is so important to build your personal brand. And this is how it ties to authority, because your personal brand is your reputation on and offline. All right, your perceived reputation, your perceived value. And I think that's really, really important, because it doesn't have to be a digital thing. People don't just follow me on Instagram. Like, they talk about me in the streets. You know what I'm saying? In the streets. I have a rapport-based model when it comes to sales. Like, I've never done cold calling. I've never done any of that stuff, because of what I do is so unique. I think it's a beast. It's a beast. What do you call it? It's bespoke. Is that I'm a creative director for high profile personal brands, influential personal brands. So like the stuff that I do is not working, and I want to attract the right clients. So I'm not just trying to attract any client. It has to be the right one. So I take that approach of like rapport, relationship building first. And that's really, really important to my business model. So however you do it, build a strong rapport in the very beginning and create awareness, like get in their radar, in their circles. And you can do it intentionally or unintentionally. In this case, I did it unintentionally. Just people that I know, I just serve them. I literally just say, hey, I made this thing for you. Like, I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. It's really fun. And here's the thing, like, you got to do that and not be like, well, I won't do anything for free or whatever. Like, I get that as a creative. At the end of the day, you're a creative. You're just going to create. It's in your nature to just create. So just create, okay? Number 2, discovery. This was really interesting because like when we got together, the investigation happened before we got together. So he went into discovery mode, right? So he investigated my profile. He saw that he was watching my stories and he saw that this is actually what I did. Literally, I'm always on production sets. I'm always out on location. I'm always cooking up some ideas. I'm always writing stuff down. Like he was watching my stories and he saw that like I'm a family guy. I love Jesus. I'm a creative. I like to work with my hands. I like to work on set. I love to work on locations. I'm showcasing that. So he's investigating who I am as a human being. And through my stories, through my profile, and I don't really post much, and I should this year. Obviously, I'm gonna post a lot more. Even the stories, like he just wanted to investigate and know who I was before we got together, and I'm not like a creep or weirdo, right? So like they're like, okay, especially high profile, they don't want to deal with weirdos that are stalkers that are just gonna bug them and ask them for, things. He gets DM'd every single second from someone that wants to use them for something, right? So you got to get in the mindset of like, I'm not trying to use this person, I'm trying to serve this person. Okay, so he investigated, he was discovering who I am before we even got together. Then the third step was consideration. So when we got together, we started activating the third stage of this formula, which is consideration. And then this is the part where I demonstrated how I work with clients. And I just gave it away. So he met up with me. We built rapport. We're like, hey, man, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your project. Like, what do you want to do? He's like, man, I got a tour coming up and I have no idea. Like, we haven't even named it yet, but this is my idea. And I told him, I was like, just bring your ideas. Just bring them. Like, because that's how creativity works. Is like, we got to wrestle through the process. It's not going to come out the first version. It's going to be revised. And I think we revised it about 27 times, to be honest. Like, what is he going to name this tour that's going to go on for the next year or 2 years, right? So like we landed on a tour name. He came back and I was like, you know what, let me just try something. I'm hearing what you're saying. I have this idea. And on the spot, I had my camera, I had everything. I was like, hey, I just want to try something with you, just as a creative exercise. And we had met for like about an hour or maybe less. I don't even remember. But at the end of it, I was like, let me take a few photos. I have this one idea and maybe we could like cook on it and just like see where it goes. So I did that. And and here's the next thing too that I want to add when it comes to demonstrating. Speed is everything. So like if I demonstrate something, they need to understand that I understand the strategy and process, that I have a very intuitive understanding of what their goals are. So when it comes to creativity, I think a lot of videographers and photographers or creatives, they kind of get it mixed up. Like they think that they're looking for the crispy, as my friend Omar says, like that quality video, which is true. They want quality, but also I think more than that, they want to work with someone that understands them more and their outcomes and what they're looking to gain and what their investment will do for them. So in that conversation, I demonstrated that, hey, I not only bring a creative strategy or intuitiveness to the brand, but I have a team behind me that I know how to manage, that I know how to communicate with, that can get the results that he's looking for and cover every detail when it comes to not only production, but building a campaign around the tour and really doing it right and delivering. Like, they need to understand that this guy can deliver. And if you break that trust, right? Like when you're demonstrating and you're building something, you don't want to break that trust. Like, you say something, like you make a promise to them, right? And they hold you to that promise. And when you say something like, hey, I'm going to cook on this, I'm just gonna create. Well, when they leave with an expectation of like, he's gonna cook on this. I'm expecting him to make the next step or the next move. I want him to show me something. So when I came back, literally less than 24 hours, I came back with this idea of full on hyper prototype. And here's another thing: if you're creative, I love this word, and write it down. If you want, it's going to help you. It's called hyper prototyping. Now, I learned this from my father-in-law, who had passed away 2 years ago, by the way, still processing that. But he had taught me the importance of hyper prototyping. Now, hyper prototyping, I'll break it down. So a prototype is like the first rendition, like beta, like here's my product. It's a prototype. It's not fully fleshed out yet. But hyper prototyping is doing something with speed, with little to no resources to test it and get a response so you can start building. Hyper prototyping is like starting off with like a ball of clay and starting molding things and getting like a vision for it, right? So as a creative, when I build out campaigns, when I work with clients and I'm building their brand and their personal brand, I like to hyper prototype what that brand could feel like, what that brand could look like in the fastest way with the littlest resources possible. And I literally, with hyper prototype, I would do it in 24 hours to like a few days. Like the whole point of hyper prototyping is how much can you get done with speed as fast as you can with little to no resources. Okay. So within 24 hours, I sent him a clip and he texted me back the very same day and was like, oh bro, we're gonna cook. That text alone is what sparked our conversion relationship, right? So after demonstrating, after that, now we go into the fourth stage, which is conversion and negotiating a contract. Once he found out, like, okay, I checked all this stuff. Is he trusted? Does he know what he's talking about? Does he have a strategy? Does he have the resources that I need to build something to actually tackle this huge campaign, which is his tour? It literally 150 city tour, and we're gonna be producing all the videos, all the branding, all the design work, everything. I had to show him that, yeah, I'm the guy. Okay, so within 24 hours, he's like, we're gonna cook. Let's talk about how this is gonna work. So we had settled on like, hey bro, this is what it's gonna take to build out this whole campaign. Let's finalize what we're gonna call the tour, and then I'm gonna share with you how we're gonna get there and what the cost is gonna be. And if he's gonna do this, he could literally take it and go somewhere else, but he's already built trust with me and I've already built rapport. So he's like, if you build out this roadmap, I trust you to get the job done, right? So that's a big deal. Like, this is his whole tour that he's writing on. So there has to be a lot of transfer of trust in his trust bank account. So I had to become a expert communicator. And I think with a lot of creatives, videographers and photographers, designers, I think we struggle so much with communication. How do we communicate clearly so that they understand? So like I'm just going to tell you, and I'm just going to be very transparent. I used to be the absolute worst communicator ever. Like, I grew up in an Asian culture where you just put your head down, you don't talk, and you just do the work, and you just don't communicate. Like, you suppress your feelings and emotions. And I kind of grew up in that culture, so it was really difficult for me growing up as a creative to explain or having to manage or lead teams. And I still struggle with that. I'm just going to be very honest, like, you know. But I've grown leaps and bounds. Obviously, like, as it reflects with the clients that I work with, I've gotten better at communication. I'm telling you, if you struggle with communication, just work at it every single day. And I think writing and even using like AI's help me communicate, and AI is a tool. It's not a crutch. Okay. So like, if I can't find the words to say something, I'm going to run it through and be like, I need some extra help with my communication. How would I communicate this? And you got to practice. Practice makes progress, right? You're not going to be perfect, but you will get better tomorrow than you were today. That's the first thing we learned in film school. Okay. You're going to get better at lighting. You're going to get better at, understanding your gear and camera and your lenses and what you have resources to, all your tools. So we negotiated a contract and we said, hey, for this campaign, this is what it's going to cost, and it's going to take this many, it might take this long. Here's a timeline, and I'm mapping this roadmap out, and like, all right, so on week 1, we're going to do this. Week 2, we're going to get this. We're going to do production on week 3. We're going to take that production and go to pre-production. So I really mapped out the whole entire creative process. And by week 4, like by the end of this month, we're going to have a flushed out brand for the tour. So he's like, yeah, do it. Right. So that was the converting thing. We signed the contract. We got paid on that. And then number 5 is relationship. I think people don't understand, like, if you understand this basic fundamentals of how sales works or how creativity works or the process, you'll really thrive in your industry. And you could really, like, if you understand just the basic principles, you will go really, really far. Okay. So number 5, after conversion, it doesn't stop there, right? You got the work, but now you got to build a relationship. Okay, so relationship to me is all about communication, right? All about creativity and speed. That's how I build my relationships, is how do I communicate with them? How fast can I integrate into their brand and understand their brand outcomes and who they are? Do I have an understanding of what their outcomes are, as a brand and what they're trying to go? Like, tell me about your dreams. What's your goal? Like, I'll ask so many questions because it helps me understand what they want out of this relationship, and am I the right person to do the job? If I know that I'm like, oh, this isn't going to work, we're not aligned, that we're butting heads and we're having conflict, maybe I'm not the right person for the job. And you got to be okay with that. Like, you have to be okay with releasing that and understanding, like, if you're not the guy, you're not the guy. Okay, move on. And that's okay. I think that's, if I had learned that earlier on in my career development, then I think I would have saved a lot of headaches. I would have saved a lot of sleepless nights. I would have saved a lot of stress. If, like, hey, you know what? I'm probably not the right person. Let me refer you to someone else. And I think you got to come in with some solutions instead of creating more problems. Like, I'm not the guy, peace. That's the worst. They're never going to want to work with you. They're never going to want to talk to you. They're never going to want to recommend you to anyone. So if you're like, hey, I just, if you ever come, and this hasn't happened with me and John, but like, if I'm not the person, I know someone that might be a better fit for you. And maybe it's my capacity, maybe it's my time, maybe it's my process, my creative process that's conflicting. But you got to find out what the root cause is and find a solution to help them, because if you're truly serving that person, you're gonna want to help them figure it out. Okay. And that's number 5. So relationship. I don't want to use this person. I want to partner with this person. I want to create with this person. So I'm not going to bombard them, and I'm not going to say, hey, can you get me, can you get me with Theo? Can you no, like, these are high profile clients and they're professionals at what they do. So you got to be a professional at what you do. You have to be professional. It can't just be I'm just using you as a stepping stone. Like, that's not the case. And if you do that, you're not going to get far. In fact, you're going to hurt your own brand. And this is just from personal experience. You don't want to hurt your brand, right? You don't want people to start talking about you on the streets saying like that person is the worst to work with. They just want X, Y, and Z from you, right? So that's relationship. Lastly is retention. And my dad, he owned his own small business growing up when I was 9 years old. And I tell the story all the time. Like, he owned his small machine shop. He's a Vietnam vet. And he literally only made like $30,000 a year, but he still is the most happiest guy I've ever known in my life, because he actually did what he loved and he had no one to manage him. Like, he was his own boss. And he's the one that taught me how to serve others. Like, I was 9 years old, sweeping floors, answering phone calls. And I learned how to weld when I was 11. And I learned how to build rapport with customers at a very young age. And that's something that I'm very thankful for that he taught me, is how to treat others, look them in the eye, shake their hand, open their door. Like, just be kind. It will go a long way. So the last stage of this formula that I've learned and developed is this retention. Like, how do I keep these customers, these clients, to come back and want to work with me? And you got to make it easy for them to come back. So, like, the process, if you could communicate your process, if you could communicate and execute at a high level where you're like, hey, I got these versions, not just sending like one version. I'm like, hey, I cooked up multiple versions for you to pick from. They, like, high level people, like, they want options, right? And then you could explain, like, hey, these are my top 5 versions of this campaign. The reason why I think number 1 or 2 is going to do really well is because it fits all these categories and it just checks everything off. But I wanted to give you more options just in case you like the direction that these are going. So in our relationship development, the reason why John keeps coming back, and I still work with him today, I'm out on tour with him like once a month, for a few days, and we still work together. I'm actually working on his next tour, John Crist Live, in 2026. So, like, I love working with him. He loves working with me because we've just have this alignment and we can communicate. And I want to be so easy to work with. I want him to be able to text me and say, hey, bro, like, I need to put a graphic together, or I need to do this, and I'm just like, done. Like, and I'll send it, and like, not that I'll put everything down to do it, but I'm like, all right, I'll put that in the queue, or I'll have my team help develop the first revision and I'll look it over and make tweaks, because as a creative director, I can't do everything myself. Even though I can execute at a high level by myself, I produce music videos by myself, commercials, I could do it all in one person. But the thing is, you're not designed to go solo. If you're going to scale your business, you need to start taking off the hats. When I first started, I wore every single hat. I was the designer, the production manager, I was the creative, I was the cameraman, the camera operator, I was the editor, I was the payroll guy, I was admin, I was the business development person, I was the contract writer. I did all the things in the very beginning. And as the business grew, I was able to be like, all right, where's my bottlenecks? What are the stuff that, first of all, I don't like or enjoy doing? Let me find some help and let me expand my team. So thankfully for me, I was able to find people that would come alongside of the vision. And and I made a lot of hiring mistakes. Don't get me wrong. I've had to hire and fire a lot of people, and people felt, oh yeah, like, that's just part of business, right? And you can't stop because you had a bad experience. Like, especially as a creative or a business owner, don't just stop because you have one bad experience, or like, it would break somebody. But I've learned through creativity and building and being a creative for a long time that, like, you can't be afraid of failing, and that can't cripple you. And you can't just default to be like, oh, well, I tried it once and I failed and flopped and I'll never do it again. It's like, no, I feel like I was born and designed to do something. And if that's true, I'm going to go through the hard things, through all the failures, through all the lessons, even no matter how hard it is, and I will get back up and relearn things and unlearn some things as well. So in this case, I really hope this formula helps you in your own process, okay? Like, it's not the all be all Bible when it comes to building rapport, working with high profile people, but it is a roadmap to help you, right? Those 6 things. It goes awareness or rapport, to discovery, investigation. That's why it's so important to make content online, but also build a rapport outside of the internet, right? Like, I want to connect with real people. I want to have conversations with real people and serve real people in getting to their outcomes, no matter if they're paying or not. Then the third is consideration and demonstration, right? So they're investigating, you're investigating them, you're trying to understand their outcomes and what they're truly, where they're trying to go from A to B. And if you could help them get from A to B, not A to Z right away, and be like, oh, we're going to do this elaborate thing. It didn't work like that with John. It started off with one idea. And it started off with like, can I get him from point A to point B? And once I'm at point B, then we'll go to point C. It didn't start with like, you know, like, I'm going to be the creative director and build your whole entire thing. It didn't start off like that. It started off with like, bring your ideas, let's work on it, and just take baby steps towards whatever it is that you want to do. And if you love working with me, you're going to come back. And we've been working together for now 2 years now, and we're continuing that relationship. It's really exciting, you know? So that's the third is consideration. Then fourth, you got to understand negotiation and contract. Like, hey, here's what I'm going to do for you, and this is how much it's going to cost. And you could work around their budget and be like, hey, if that's too high, like, let's work on this, but this is what it's going to take. All right, I'm going to need a production team. I'm going to need to find a location. I'm going to need X, Y, and Z. Most of it's going to be in post-production. You're going to ask for lots of assets and revisions. And, you know, this is going to be used for the whole entire tour, over 150 venues. So, like, that's really important. So you're going to need, like, a bunch of raw assets, and you're going to need a ton of stuff. And it's going to turn into this thing. So I just want to communicate from my experience and my knowledge what it's going to take to build that campaign and launch it and get it going. And then the fifth is obviously like relationship, is that communication, that creativity and speed, and that intuitive. How well do you know that person enough to dial in those outcomes? And lastly is the retention. Dude, how do I make it easy for you to come back to me? So I hope this episode was helpful. I love sharing insights, and I love answering the questions that people have for me. Like, how'd you get to work with these people? Like, what's your process and all those things? So if you enjoy this content, if you liked hearing me talk about this, click that like button, hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and leave a comment. I love responding. I love building this community. And by the way, like, I do a weekly newsletter. So if you want to join that newsletter, I literally, it's none of that AI slush. It's literally me writing things down and like writing in my journal. And I'm like, hey, this is what I learned from clients, and this is what I'm teaching, you know. So like, every newsletter you'll get every week in your inbox, and I share insights and tips about building your brand that grows beyond your business. But it's called Creative Direction Weekly. So join it at brandingbeyondbusiness.com, and let me know, like, is there any topic that you want me to cover on Branding Beyond Business? Is there anything that you want to learn? Do you want to get more technical? Do you want to get more whatever? Just send me a DM, comment, follow me at John Mediana all over the place. And yeah, I hope to hear your conversations. Was this valuable to you? Did it work out? Did you test it? Did you try it? But anyways, love talking to you. If you want to join our free community too, you could do that. I'll put a link in our community below, where I have tons of creatives and business owners in our community on the Circle platform. And I do live Q&As every single week, and I do coaching and all kinds of stuff. But if you want to join our community, I'll leave the link in the description below, and I hope this helped. Join our newsletter, and we'll talk in the next episode. All right, I'll see you.